Okay, so I didn't film all of that because really most people probably don't have the particular engine, and really it's a lot of what you see, unbolt and take it out. Here's my pile of stuff down there. So yeah, basically took off all that. I had a lot of struggles taking off those 30-year-old rubber hoses. A lot of them were just ripping, and so some of them I even had to do little slices in them to make them come off. And I am turboing this car. I wasn't going to do it right away. I was going to drive around for a little bit with the new valve cover and the new fuel pump that I put in, and then make sure it was good. But since half those hoses ripped and whatnot, I'm not going to bother putting it back in, so I'm just going to go turbo here from here forward. So, but I'm still going to do the valve covers because I got to take them off. I'm going to paint them, and they're leaking as well. So at this point, once you got that crossover pipe off, you're going to want to take off the coil ignition igniter. I believe that's what that is back there. So I'm going to go ahead and unhook that. And it's just a few connectors and then some 10 millimeters is what it looks like, or they're also Phillips heads. So I'll go ahead and remove those and show you that. Alright, so I got what I believe to be the igniter off. It was some little 8 millimeters. I just used a Phillips screwdriver to pop them off. They're not very tight at all. And then the two connectors on the side, and then there's also a ground that went on there that was bolted in with one of those bolts, so keep that in mind. So yeah, I moved that out of the way, so now I'm going to get started on removing the valve cover. I'm going to first take off the coil pack covers down the middle, and then expose all that. There's going to be some Allen wrenches there, so I'm going to pop those off first and then move forward. Alright, so I got the coil pack covers off. I don't know, it's hard to tell. I can't tell if this broke at one point when someone worked on it and then they just left it in two pieces, or if this is supposed to be two pieces. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be two pieces because that's not an even break, so that kind of sucks. But it doesn't affect anything, but it's just kind of sleazy. I wonder if it was just stuck at one point or something. And down here you can see some more evidence that's been leaking for a while. The exhaust manifold here, a bunch of burnt oil all over it, oil all over this right there. Every now and then I'd smell a burning smell, like oil burning, but the car doesn't burn any oil. Not much at least, so that makes sense. This bracket, I'm wondering if I can reuse for turbo. Gonna take off this exhaust heat shield. I'm gonna start trying to remove the exhaust all the way to the cat. So we'll see how that goes. I've got it up on ramps here. I've got to jack up the rear end as well. Okay, and right now I'm working on removing the factory exhaust manifold heat shield. There's just a bunch of 10 millimeters. They're clear as day where they are. I sprayed them down with some penetrating oil, and I'm just going at them. Every single one of them has loosened up perfectly fine so far, which is really surprising. Just how old the car is and how small the bolts are. But yeah, I'm just going to keep going with those and get the heat shield off, and then my goal is to remove the header slash, I don't know if you want to call it, down pipe down to the cat and unbolt it from there. So yeah, I'll continue from here. Okay, so there's not much to see here, but I just removed the, I guess you call it, down pipe to the cat from the header, and it's three 14 millimeter nuts from the bottom. They actually came off, surprisingly, again, so that's good. So I got those off. Now I'm going to get the piece that goes to the cat off, and from there it's 17 millimeters, two 17 millimeters that bolted into the cat, and those actually came off previously when I did the manual swap, so those should come right out. I sprayed it with some penetrating oil just in case, but once I get that bottom piece off, then I go ahead and remove the OEM header, and then see about test fitting the turbo header and the turbo. Alright, here's my pile that I've got going so far. This is the little down pipe thing, I guess you can call it. It had up here 3 nuts from the bottom there, and on here, on the flange there to the catalytic converter, we had 2 big 17 millimeters, and all that unscrewed. So it's kind of nice having a car that's not all rusty. Alright, I got the exhaust manifold out, sitting over there, and so it all came out very easy. All the nuts came off except for one came off the whole stud, which is totally fine by me. Sometimes these things will snap, but mine are all in seemingly really good shape, so don't have to do any funny business having to extract those or anything like that. That's always a fear of mine, working on something a little bit older. So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab my turbo and my turbo manifold and see if I can try and get a test fit just to see. I mean, it should fit like OEM, but we'll see what we got. Okay, and I went ahead and just test fitted the exhaust manifold and turbo. Really easy to get it in there. I was actually trying to put it on upside down like an idiot a little bit ago, so yeah, this is how it's going to be. I'm going to be running the RB20 turbo with RB25 wastegate actuator. That way, a little bit lower boost and a relatively small turbo. I have an RB25 turbo as well that I'll probably go to later on, but initially I'm just going to try this, see how it treats me. And yeah, this is probably where I'm going to stop for right now, but getting a good idea as to how things are going to come together. It's all bolted together like OEM just because, you know, this stuff wasn't another RB20 engine, so it should all bolt up like OEM, which is nice, which is what I'm going for. I'm going for a very simple and reliable setup. Then here's a little test fit with the little elbow coming off of the turbo and intake piping here that I bought. Unfortunately, it's blue. I thought I ordered black, but it ended up blue, which kind of sucks. Didn't want to reorder it since this will work fine, but it's blue. It's kind of goofy. But yeah, so that's what we're looking like. Everything's just test fitted right now. I just want to make sure everything's going to fit like it should. So the next thing I'm going to do is pull this all back off and look at my oil feed and return lines. And then I'll also probably go ahead and remove the front bumper so I can start doing the front mount setup, as well as the piping and all of that. So that'll be the next thing. So this is pretty much it for this video, I think. Not too exciting, but I'll try and show more of what we got going on here, but I'm hoping this works out good. And you get the non-turbo versions a lot cheaper than you get the turbo versions, and from what I've seen, it's really simple to bolt this stuff up.